Hello everybody, I'm Bert Eliason with the PBIS Applications Training Team. I want to welcome you to the first video in our series focused on reading and interpreting the SWIS Equity Report. In this video, we will talk specifically about the risk index graph. The risk index shows us the percentage of students within each subgroup who received a specific outcome. In this example, we're looking at the 2018-19 school year, and our outcome is all discipline referrals, disaggregated by student, race, and ethnicity. When we select the data table, we see SWIS is doing a little bit of math for us behind the scenes. Specifically, it is taking the number of students in an identified subgroup with at least one referral and dividing that number by the subgroup's total enrollment. This gives us a percentage of the subgroup who have received a referral, or the group's risk index. Looking at the students identified as white in our building, we can see there are 300 students enrolled who identify as white. 101 of them have received at least one referral. We divide the 101 students with a referral by 300 students enrolled, which is 33.67%, or a risk index of about 0.34. In other words, it looks like about 34% of the students identifying as white are at risk of receiving or have already received an office discipline referral. Here's what that information looks like visually. With each subgroup's total enrollment displayed at the bottom of the bar, we see the white subgroup has 300 students enrolled. And with the Show Values selected from the Options menu, we see they have a referral risk index of about 34%. Let's click on this graph and make it a bit larger. When we compare the white subgroup to our other subgroups, we see the Native, Black, and Latinx percentages all seem to have a higher risk index. These stand out as possible red flags when looking at the discipline outcomes for these three subgroups. Back in the data table, let's look at the risk index information for students identifying as Black. There are 65 students enrolled who identify as Black, and 46 of those students have received a referral. When we divide the 46 who have a referral by the 65 Black students enrolled, we get 70.77%, or a risk index of about 0.71. So we can say that in our demonstration school, about 71% of the students identifying as Black are at risk of receiving or have already received a referral. I do want to share a note of caution here. It's always important to look at the size of the subgroup when using the risk index report. The smaller the group, the greater the impact a single student might have on the outcomes shown in the risk index graph. This is not to say that a discrepant or disproportionate outcome for any one subgroup should be dismissed because of small numbers. Certainly not. We would still want to enlist every effort possible to make sure that these students received all the support we could manage to help them be more successful as well. In a perfect world, all groups would have about the same portion of their population receiving referrals. At our demonstration school, 2 groups have no referrals, but some groups share a higher likelihood that their members are at risk of receiving an office discipline referral. When we compare the risk indices for our Black, Native, and Latinx students with the risk index for their white peers, we can readily identify some disproportionate outcomes for these 3 subgroups. This is something for our team to follow up on and dig a little deeper. We can do that by looking at the rest of the equity report graphs to find out more about this situation. Let's do that, starting with our next graph, the risk ratio graph in video number 2.